Congratulations. If you're at this phase, you are getting ready for your AHCA inspection. This video will go hand in hand with the other video about your facility binders once you receive them. And I'm going to go into a little bit more details that will help you more efficiently look and understand the information that is in your binders and how to properly use them. So in your resident records and admissions records, this is what you need to admit a new resident at your facility. Tab number 2, only going to go over some of the necessary tabs. Tab number 2 is what you need to be able to welcome a client at your facility at a minimum, okay? So the entire resident records and admissions records is information that you need to either provide to the resident and their family or have them complete at the end of the day. But sometimes you come into situations where people's mindset, right? So a resident family comes to you because something happens, right? Mom fell, or mom is in the hospital, or the assisted living where she is currently being housed at is giving them a deadline. They have a deadline to move. Something happened that triggered this. So with that in mind, you don't want to present someone who may already be overwhelmed with like a thick of paperwork that they need to complete, because it might turn them off. So the way you handle that is I make it easier for you by adding all of the document you need to submit in tab number 2. So the entire folder needs to be completed. It's consisted of 12 tabs, and with tab number 12 being copies of tabs 1 through 11. Okay, so you're going to make copies of all the prior tabs before you start to actually use those forms. Okay, that's how you're going to use that. But in tab number 2, you're going to pick that up. So let's say a family member call and they tell you mom needs an assisted living. You went over the prices, they can afford it, and you need to go and physically assess the resident, and you notice that the health assessment form is not in the tab number 2, which is the minimum requirement that you need. That's because, remember, you have 30 days to get that complete. And then sometimes there's a back and forth with getting that 1823 form completed. Okay, either something happens with the doctor, or there's sometimes a back and forth. Don't let that delay you. As long as you went to go assess the resident physically and you see that they are a fit for your ALF, accept them. Just make sure you have your resident agreement. You know the person who signs it is a person who is legally approved to sign it by having those power of attorney paperwork. Of course, this is not in the tab, but that's one of the things that you need to have in order to know that this client belongs at your ALF and that you're doing things correctly, okay? Make sure they give you a check, right? A deposit. Ideally, that the check is cleared 2 or 3 days before moving date so that you don't get scammed. And then after the client move in, don't delay yourself because life does happen. Make sure you get the rest of the paperwork completed, right? If you haven't done the 1823 form, your facility doctor can do it for you. The resident doctor can do it for you. Just make sure the 1823 form is completed. There are some things that you want to watch out for the 1823 form. We'll go over that later, but make sure that there aren't any complete total care throughout the 1823 form, because that makes the person becomes a nursing home client, okay, and you're not a nursing home. So remember those things. And then tab number 12 is where you're going to add all of your copies. So next time you can just feed it to your printer and you'll be able to print what is necessary. The other thing I want to mention is be wise, right? Let's say if a loved one is the power of attorney, they live out of state. Of course, you're going to, use the minimum file to bring the client in. So like I was saying before, so if the resident and their family, or the person who makes the decision for them is someone who lives out of state, make sure those documents are completed before they leave. Because if they don't, the rest of the document, that is, if they don't, you're going to have a really hard time with getting those paperwork completed, okay? The other thing is, there is no need to go and make any copies at this point. But before you admit a new resident, make sure you have already made your copies. Right now, time is of the essence, where you need to learn what is in your folder. So if you're prioritizing your time, there is no need for you to make copies of that folder right now. The only thing you need to do is to make sure that your employee folder is completed for yourself and for your safety liaison person, okay? Those two employee files and folders are going to show AHCA that you know how to welcome a new staff member. So pretend like you are welcoming a new staff member, because at the end of the day, that's how AHCA will know that you know what to do, okay? Two things you need to do is make sure you know where things are in your folder. Make sure you complete the employee file for yourself and for your safety liaison person. And then when you get ready to welcome in new staff, you can make copies, okay? So no overwhelm. There's no need to do everything right now. The only thing that needs to be done right now are those things that I just mentioned, okay? So I've already covered what not to do. So in your employee file, you want to make sure that the pre-service orientation, remember that is pre-service, the date that you put in that form needs to be a date before the hiring date, okay? That's how AHCA will catch you sometimes. Don't say I didn't warn you, okay? Make sure that you are putting the date, because it's pre-service, is service before they begin working, where they learn about your policies, your procedures, where they learn about what to do during emergencies. All those things needs to be completed before, that training needs to be completed before the employees start. So when you're putting dates on things, be careful with the dates that you put, okay? Your TB test. So your TB test need to have a signed communicable disease statement, right? Stating that there are no signs of communicable diseases, okay? It has to be signed, it has to be a certificate, and that language have to be on there somewhere, okay? That you have no signs of TB or any signs of communicable diseases, okay? That has to be on there. And then your food safety certificates, make sure that is in there. Make sure each and every one of your staff, including yourself and your safety liaison, go through the process of food safety training, okay? I send most of my clients to Ana Alves. As a matter of fact, she's the only one that I recommend, because what she does, and I feel like she makes it easy for us to do our jobs. So share the link with your hiree, make sure they go through that training, and print out those certificates and add it to their files, okay? If you have a pool, you have to make sure that your pool safety training also go into your folder. And each and every one of your staff that you're going to hire need to have that water safety training. It's actually not pool safety training, it's called water safety training. And it's easy to get that done through your city, okay? At this phase, you already have your water safety training, because clearly your health department inspection was done already, okay? But just know that each and every one of your staff members will also have to have water safety training. So for your facility records and policies and procedures, just remember you're going to make copies of everything. When you make the copy is a different story. So right now, your focus should be on learning and knowing where things are, so that you can help the AHCA surveyor to get out of your facility as soon as possible. When they say, where is X, Y, or Z, you're very helpful. You help them find it. It shows that you're knowledgeable. You know what's happening at your facility, which then shows that you know what to do, and hence your facility will be successful, okay? So spend some time studying what is in your folders. Spend some time going over and making sure if there's anything missing from the tabs will indicate what needs to be where. If there's anything missing, you get those things completed, okay? So your tab number 2 inside of your facility records and policies and procedures is any incident reports that was filed. This will be like an empty tab for hopefully ever. But when you start to get like incident reports, you will add those to that tab, okay? Tab number 9 are your templates. It is the same thing as your fire safety book and elopement training book. Okay, I separate that because sometimes you will have people that are very nosy, and I'm saying inspectors, AHCA surveyors, and you want to separate the things you do on a monthly basis and the things you do in a daily basis so that they can only see what they need to see. Okay, for example, if someone shows up to inspect, let's say, your fire inspection, for example, you can just take that fire safety book and you give it to them. They don't need to know everything inside of your facility records, right? Because you keep everything separate. But your tab number 9 are templates for your fire safety book that I separated. But if you choose to have not so many books, you can choose to put everything in there. But I keep it separated. And that's something that you should think about as well, because you want to keep things separated. And when someone shows up and they say, oh, I need to see X, Y, and Z, you don't need to hand them all of your facility records for them to see 1 or 2 things. And now they discover things that, you know, perhaps they didn't care to know about. I worked for BSO, right? And sometimes what you were looking for is very minimal to what you will find accidentally, meaning in severity levels, okay? Because sometimes you think you're looking for something minor and you find something very severe and you didn't intend to look for that thing. It just kind of show up. So you want to keep things separate for those reasons, okay? And other times you have other people that are very nosy, sometimes nurses, and they want to come and they want to look, oh, this resident is paying you how much? And now they want to take your residents to go bring it to their besties because, you know, don't say I didn't warn you, okay? And you don't want to mingle too much because at the end of the day, you want to keep things separated so you can have your privacy, okay? Tab number 10 are for used copies. So that tab will be mostly empty because it's going to be copies that you've used before and you keep in that tab. Tab number 11 is for your property lease, your financials, not the financial of ability to operate. This is like money that comes in, your facility financials, okay? So that's what's going to go in there. And of course, your property lease, you're going to lease yourself the property just like we did for the proof of ability to operate. And that's something that you're going to do every 5 years and you're going to keep those in your records, okay? And tab number 12 is things that comes up, you know, so it's going to be quite an empty tab until you start having things that do come up. So not everything in your folders will have a space to be, some things are gonna be filled as things happen as you're actually running your operation, okay? So for your emergency management folder, 2 things I want to cover. Some counties require that we have the full emergency management plan approved, and they will approve the plan after we submit it, and they will give us those 2 letters, the EECP approval and the CEMP approval. Other counties only want to deal with one part of the emergency management plan, which is the EECP, and then after you receive your license number, then they process the CEMP. Now, we always submit the entire plan up front. Okay. Now, if you see that you don't have your emergency management plans inside of your emergency management folder, if you see we only put the necessary items that show proofs that your emergency management plan was submitted, that means your county requires that we have the license number before they review the rest of your file. That means only one portion of your emergency management plan was actually approved. Okay, that's what that means. That is something that we have no control over. Once we submit the plan, we give them what they need. They will review that portion that we need to get the license. After that, they won't do anything else. Now, once you get your AHCA license, there's nothing you need to do. We will submit the license information and then they will continue to review your plan. And at which point they're going to let you know when they're finished reviewing your plan, and then you'll get an invoice that you'll have to make a payment for that plan review process. Nothing for you to do, just informing you of what the process is, because we have it in our timeline. We will take care of that for you. Okay. Yeah, that's all I have to cover for your binders, in addition to the other video that you watched. And if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to schedule a call so that we can go over whatever questions you may have. But for now, I need your focus to be on reading what is in your binders. If you choose to, you can separate your binders, but the way that I set them to you is good enough. You can keep the same setup. However, do what you feel is right with those educational things that I just mentioned. Okay. And congratulations. And I cannot wait to help you plan this open house. Talk soon.